Hello, and thank you for your attention. The following video presentation is brought to you by Team F, aka Team Flamingo, and details our research findings concerning digital healthcare. During the course of the semester and our project, we were tasked with helping define these two research questions. We were trying to find what college medium would be best for students to access digital healthcare, should it be implemented, and we were trying to gauge students' overall comfort level with sharing private information like medical records and medical conditions and data from wearable technology. The following slides contain demographics pertinent to our research as well as our findings. When analyzing our demographic information of the population that we surveyed, we observed that close to 60% of all people surveyed were either 20 or 21, and 53% of them were male, 47% of them female. Part 1. What mediums would be best for college students to access digital healthcare?
When using the internet, I tend to rely on my mobile device rather than my computer. Only 51% of respondents agree or strongly agree that when using the internet, they tend to rely on mobile devices rather than computers. 30% of respondents, or about 46 people, are neutral when it comes to using one device over another. This could be partially due to the fact that college students need to use computers with internet access for homework, assignments, readings, quizzes, etc. I mostly use functional apps on my phone, messaging, and banking. A majority of respondents use functional apps on their cell phones. 66% of respondents either agree or strongly agree that they use functional apps on their phones. From this, we can assume that functional apps relating to healthcare would be useful to these consumers.
Question 102. Only 3 respondents, or 1.8%, feel comfortable when it comes to storing their personal health records online. 41.5%, or 64 people, disagree or strongly disagree with being comfortable storing their personal health records online.
On a scale of 1 to 5, most people landed on the lower end of the spectrum when we asked if they believe sharing private information would be helpful through an app.
I mostly use leisure apps on my phone, social media, or games. 62% of respondents either agree or strongly agree that they primarily use leisure apps on their phone. These apps could include social media such as Twitter and Facebook and other apps including games. This information could be used to design a healthcare app in a way that has a familiar format, like a Facebook, to make it easier for consumers to use.
Question 103. 16% of respondents feel comfortable with third-party companies housing their personal health information. 23% of people have a neutral feeling. Question 104. 48.7% of people feel comfortable sharing their healthcare information digitally with healthcare centers or hospitals, while only 15.4% of people do not. Question 106. 55.3% of respondents said breaches of security make them nervous to share personal information over the internet, while only 3.7% said it does not make them nervous.
The number of people who told us they were comfortable with their personal records being on a mobile device and the number of people who trusted mobile devices was around a quarter. Under a quarter of respondents told us that they trusted mobile applications to house their medical records.
Part 2. Do college students feel comfortable sharing private information digitally that pertains to their well-being? Doctor records, medical conditions, insurance information. And are they comfortable with sharing data from wearable technology to third parties and doctors? Are people interested in using wearable technology for the health? Based off of the data collected, most people are neutral on the subject. However, the most common answer is yes. After careful analysis of the findings, it shows that only 33% would not be open to the idea. When looking back at qualitative findings, it would depend greatly on what is actually being shared. In today's day and age, individual fitness goals are becoming more and more popular, and people are wanting to share their incredible journeys and the progresses they've made. As stated before, personal fitness or basic health goals would more than likely be fair game. However, very sensitive and private information would have to stay private and very, very secure. Nobody wants their data to be open to everybody, and a lot of people are private about sensitive matters. It just depends on the person.
Wearable technology helps me to track my health and fitness. Here we can see that over 35% or 55 people disagree or strongly disagree that wearable technology helps them to track their fitness, with most answers coming back as neutral. This could be in part because some wearables are very expensive, or it could just be to the fact that students have other ways of tracking their personal health and fitness goals.
Would sharing the data from my wearable technology be useful? Based off of the data collected, the answer to this question would be no. According to the data gathered, roughly 72% were either neutral or disagreed with the idea. This ties back to our qualitative findings, where a lot of people were indifferent to the situation or put off by it completely. Do people want to share the data from wearable technology? Based off of all the data collected, yes. In fact, close to 40% either agree or strongly agree. However, close to 31% are actually neutral on the subject, so some people could go back and forth. This can be backed up by previous questions, basically stating that it just depends on what's being shared. After all, in today's world, it's all about sharing.
Although some people did express hesitancy about the helpfulness of sharing information over an app, the majority of people did say that they were unafraid or neutral about digital sharing in general. We did find a difference in the number of people who were willing to share personal fitness information over an app as opposed to medical records. Far more people said that they were comfortable sharing personal fitness.
I feel that my wearable technology data would be helpful for my doctor to have. Just over half the respondents, about 53%, agree or strongly agree that they believe the information from their wearable technology devices would be useful to doctors. This could help doctors monitor heart rate, calories burned, and even see extended periods of exercise. I do not believe that health data is accurate from wearable technology. With a pretty even distribution of responses, about 40% of respondents believe that data from wearable technology may not be entirely accurate. This could be something to test. Depending on the accuracy of the information, this data may or may not even be useful to doctors to begin with.
Do people feel comfortable sharing the data from wearable technology with social media? Based on the data collected, these answers vary. A lot of people were neutral on the subject, close to 35% specifically. This ties back to other questions asked in our survey. Different people are comfortable with sharing different things and where they're shared. Some people are comfortable oversharing, some people are very, very private. Can I trust the brand associated with my wearable technology? Based off of the data shown and collected, this is somewhat inconclusive. 50% of people are indifferent on the subject, while 25% of people agree. This can be tied back to brand loyalty. People are going to gravitate toward brands that they recognize and are familiar with. As far as the 50% of people being neutral, this can be tied back to recent data hacks where people's information has been exposed and sometimes even stolen. If a healthcare app or a service were to be implemented, it would have to be secure and a brand that people would recognize, so people would be more likely to gravitate towards it.
Question 105. 73.3% of people, or 115 total respondents, said they agree or strongly agree that keeping their digital information secure is important to them. Only 1.8%, or 3 respondents, said it is not important keeping their digital information secure. Question 107. Respondents who know someone who has had his or her personal information hacked via apps is fairly evenly distributed on each response.
There was also a difference between medical records and sensitive personal health information, as people were less concerned sharing their health information than medical records.
This may be one of the most controversial questions that we ask on our entire survey. Are people comfortable with data from their wearable technology being sold to third-party websites? Based off of the data, this is a big source of controversy as expected. The overwhelming response is no, with close to 80% of respondents being either neutral on the subject or disagreeing to some extent. If a healthcare application or service were to be implemented, they would have to have the option to turn this feature off, like most wearable technologies do. Conclusions drawn. Healthcare information must be secure. In most cases, students surveyed seem to place an emphasis on making sure most of their healthcare information remains secure and private, especially when dealing with third-party websites and making sure that information isn't hacked or stolen. Wearable technology and its opinions carry mixed feelings. When dealing with wearable technology, it has been observed that most people are indifferent on analyzing and sharing content. If people are into personal fitness, this could be the opposite, however. And finally, implementation of an application or service would more than likely be effective through a mobile app or website. Because of students' primary access to both mobile applications and computers for homework, schoolwork, tests, quizzes, and other things, it would make the most sense to implement a service across those two platforms.